pristine. But for our students, that is not the case.
Okay.
They're utilizing it.
Alrighty, thank you.
You're welcome.
So back to my question. I'm going from 871 to 892. That's 20, but we're adding 100 additional. So 80 students are leaving. Why do you have, what's the main reason for people opting out?
So your budget is always a year behind. It's based off of your October 1 numbers moving forward. But I know that as I go into next year, I'm going to have over 100 additional students technically that have already signed up and planned. So I've included that in my budget for next year, because this is as of July 1. This is only good. This is starting for next year, and those numbers are a year behind. They're based off of this year's current number of students, 9 through 12.
Which is 871.
Which is your 892.
Current year is 892?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
FY
So
26
the chart
was
has it fiscal 27, 892.
correct.
And you're saying these are year behind numbers.
Yes, because you start October 1. That's when they actually calculate the numbers 9 through 12. And this budget for FY 27 starts. So the students that are already there have been there. You're being paid for them next year. And I'm anticipating, because of the number of freshmen coming in, I will need more Chromebooks. So I added it to that line item, knowing well in advance I would have over 100 students.
Nancy.
I'm curious, when you did your testifying about the change in admissions, were there also, what was the feeling from the other schools like yours in the public schools, or did other towns speak to this?
So MAVA, which is the Massachusetts Association of Vocational Administrators, we actually attend the Board of Ed meetings monthly up in Boston. And I sat with 2 other superintendents who also testified to the board. Their feelings were exactly the same. The organization as a whole had a position paper we wrote, sent it to the board. Again, this came down from the governor's office to change over to lottery. And there was no stopping that train once it started.
Kevin.
So next year, you've got 100 students more than you did this year.
That's what it appears to be.
If that continues, what is your budget going to look like in a year or two?
Well, for the town of Sandwich, it's not increasing that much because, again, we had only 42 students from Sandwich that chose to come to Upper Cape Tech.
42 next year versus how many the year before? Or how many seniors?
60.
50. Okay, so we're actually decreasing. But what's it going to do? I mean, just overall, if you keep adding, if you've got an average of 225 students per class right now, and in 3 years you average 300 or 325?
So we won't honestly know that. And this year being the first year of lottery, it really is an anomaly for all of these students. As I said, we have accepted up to 360 to 370 students in the past. We have not had that many come to Upper Cape Tech. But if I'm planning this piece and I'm looking at it, of the students, of the 101 that applied to come, I have over 90% of them have already accepted the acceptance. So of the 42, I have 90% of those that have accepted the acceptance to come. I can only base it off of those hypothetical numbers, but I won't really know until they walk through the door in September.
I'm just looking at it future. Are you going to have the room for all of those students if they all come, or if?
So again, back to that question was asked immediately, and we currently do. If it were to increase like this, it would change, and that would be certainly a different conversation to have with the towns and what we're looking at. I don't know for the town of Sandwich that the interest level is there based off of last year the number, this year the current number. I don't know that that is accurate. And it does vary, and it changes, because there have been years that we have had up to 70 students, and now we're looking at 42.
You said accurate, you mean, is it accurate to use that to project by? Is that, or where would an inaccuracy come from?
If they decided not to come to Upper Cape and change their mind between now and September 1st, they certainly could do so. And as I said, in the past, Mr. Greeley has had over 360, 370 applications, and only 245 have actually walked through the door. The biggest change this year was setting the date of January 5th, which certainly caused a concern for families of, did I get in by the set time? And once I've been accepted, I want to accept the acceptance so I don't lose my spot, because once you decline, your spot is given up and we'll have to hold another lottery, which we may have to do in June.
Jackie?
Did you say there was something that you said the upper limit was 1,000 students? What was that?
That is MSBA. So MSBA has done their own study of the 5 sending towns, looking at enrollments, looking at projections. They've looked at the birth rate within the towns. I mean, they go all the way back to kindergarten. Their projection is 1,000 students, 975 to 1,000 for Upper Cape Tech and to build. So as we go into feasibility, our first charge is to hire an OPM. Once we hire the owner's project manager, then we will look at interviewing and hiring a designer. Once that is done, then they will go back to MSBA for them to, again, approve and look at the towns, look at the demographics, and look at what it is we're trying to build. We have no desire to have a new school. I am very happy with Upper Cape Tech and what we have done, the campus approach of what we've accomplished up there. But our gymnasium is too small. I cannot put the entire student body in the gymnasium at one time. We need a larger gym. Sports is an important piece for the young men and young women in the high school arena. A new gymnasium, a new roof, because we've been good stewards about it. We patch it, we maintain it so we don't have leaks all over our buildings, but it's 28 years old, and it's a 20-year roof. It is a tar and felt paper buildup with stone on top. That's an antiquated system for any building by today's standards. So we need that to be done. Our labs have not been done in years. So our science labs, which is more of a key component from MSBA that they push, and they made it very clear to us when we met with them that they would be looking at that. The building does not have a sprinkler system within it. It's 60 years old. I'm sure they'll be requiring to have the building sprinklered. We've had no issues in 60 years, but they will push to make sure that that meets new code, along with ADA. We have only a second floor. Everything else is a single floor that can be accessed, and we have a lift that's currently in place. So I don't know that there's an exorbitant cost that they would try to push on to us in that aspect. But again, we're not looking for a new school. We're looking for a new gymnasium and a roof on our school, at least from my perspective.
Crystal?
So you said the deadline was January 5th. When does that open for the enrollment?
It opened at the end of the school year, so sometime over the summer, Josh? Late August.
Late August? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Bud.
Roger, I just had a quick one. On the LPN students, so
Yes.
they count towards your local enrollment percentage for operating, but in a sense, if their fees cover the cost, the budget is that much less, so it is factored into the percentage calculation.
It is for
the number is
foundation.
less.
That is correct. It's part of the foundation budget, and I included it in here so that it was very transparent, so that you can see that everything that's over foundation does not include the LPNs. Now, DOR actually includes those and adds those into the foundation numbers for DESE. So when we calculate the actual cost, I wanted to make sure it was very, very clear. After last year and the percentage piece about including that, I felt like it would be something you would want to see so you would know.
Thank you very much
You are very, very
for
welcome.
joining us tonight.
It is my pleasure. And again, as I do each year, I would really enjoy to have the Finance Committee come out to visit the school, to take a tour, to see Upper Cape Tech. And through the chair, if you find a date that's acceptable to do so, we would be happy to host and provide you with a tour.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
All right, let's move on to any further discussion and review before we vote on the recommendations for each financial article for the May 4th, 2026 annual town meeting warrant. And I'd first like to invite Superintendent Dr. Joe Marashka, who's joined us, to follow up on questions that came up since his visit with us a few weeks back, and that he's responded to us in writing ahead of tonight's meeting. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Did they leave the microphone there for you? Community television would prefer you to use the microphone, though.
Testing.
There you go. Do you want to kick off with any opening remarks or in response to the questions that were asked, or?
Happy to put a little more detail if anybody wants to follow up. I think we would probably be well served, and I know you're getting very, very short on your meetings. I'm sure you guys are dreading having your Tuesday evenings back very, very shortly. But I'd be happy to come back with Michael Ryan, our facilities director, and kind of do a deeper dive into the facilities condition assessment report. I think it's our game plan, as I said in the responses, to put together a working group, myself, Bud and Heather, along with Bill, and we're thinking maybe a couple representatives from the FinCom, a couple representatives from the Select Board, and a couple representatives from the school committee to kind of do a deeper dive and prioritize and really strategize about what is, the best method moving forward to tackle proactively a lot of those projects. But again, I'd be happy, to do a deeper dive to, kind of point out some of the major findings and really kind of talk about some of the key projects that have been identified.
Timeline, just if we were to pull together a meeting to do a deeper dive, do you want to?
Happy to do it according to your timeline. This is, things get a little crazy, as I'm sure you know, at the end of the school year towards May and June. So happy to do something in April.
Okay.
Even before April vacation.
We'll look for a date then amongst committee members for the few Tuesdays that are left. Very good. Does anyone have any other follow-ups for Dr. Marashka based on the answers he provided to the questions? Bob?
Good to see you again. Thank you. Your answers were terrific. Thanks. They were helpful. So as I was reading the answers, I noticed the representation around grant-funded positions, and then there was also discussion of the, I'm going to call it pre-K, it may go by some other name, and the representation there was that was being funded by fee revenue, right?
Being
The
funded by what?
fee revenue, right?
Correct.
So we've got the grant positions and we've got the pre-K positions. and all of those were represented as fully funded. And I guess my first question is, how many positions roughly in total is that?
So one thing.
Grants plus the
Yeah, great.
pre-K?
One thing that's very, very confusing is we have what is called the integrated preschool at Forestdale, okay? That's something that we're legally mandated to run, which is for students 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds who have been identified with special needs to kind of have an early intervention program. And we have that along with peer models, typical children. The typical children's families pay tuition for that pre-K. The School for Early Learning, which is essentially attached to Forestdale through the older portables, that is completely tuition-based. And all of the children there, all of the 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, and the pre-K classrooms, that's completely self-funded.
And so roughly how many staff is that?
I think I put the number. Did I put the number of teachers in the classrooms? I think I put the number of classrooms in my response. I want to say at SEL for pre-K, wasn't it something like 5 classrooms?
Okay.
5 classrooms,
And
yes.
I think I said at the integrated preschool, it was something pretty comparable. I think it was something like 3
Two full day, two full days and 2
2.5.
half-day classrooms. 2.5 half days, yes.
Okay,
So that'd be roughly 5 and 5.
5 and 5. Okay, so roughly 10. And then in the grant fundings, there's another 9 plus 8. So call the whole thing 30, right? Am I correct that those 30 positions, while they're funded by grants and funded by fee revenue, that fully funded doesn't mean fully funded and paying health, medical, and retirement? Fully funded means covering their salaries.
Correct.
Right? So, just interesting to note, and I'm not playing gotcha, but I think it's interesting to note, I have other comments on our health expenses for later, but 30 positions, if they were all to be full-time and all to be on benefits, that would be 30 times roughly $23,500 a year in benefits costs.
Bob, if I can jump in there,
Yeah.
if I may. So at the School for Early Learning, we actually bill the School for Early Learning for the health insurance costs, and we do get those costs reimbursed by the School for Early Learning.
Okay. So
And there's
those positions are all covering the insurance expenses as well?
The majority of the positions at the SEL are not benefit eligible. I believe, I'm going off the top of my head here. I want to say it's less than a handful of those SEL employees receive benefits, and those benefits are covered by those fees that Dr. Murchek was talking
Terrific.
about earlier.
Thanks. Thank you.
And realize, happy to do, I think I put in a statement around 10:30 last night. I can do a deeper dive for you in the sense that some of those other positions, particularly those funded by the 240 or the special education grant, by and large, they're going to people who are ESPs or educational support paraprofessionals. If I had to guess, Bob, we're probably talking maybe about 60% of them actually take the benefits because, again, it becomes a cost-benefit conversation based on
Terrific.
salary.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyone else with follow-ups for Dr. Murchek? Nancy?
Hi, thank you. I'm just curious, are you doing any more surveys, exit surveys? Because it seems to come up all the time, about why are kids leaving, and it does seem to be the same answers all the time, but last one was a couple of years ago, so are you doing,
Yeah,
do you do
so
them
I
every
think
year?
As I said, our intent is to do one again this spring. We're going to do it a little bit earlier. We're probably going to do it the week before April vacation. And we're going to actually cover 6, 7, and grades, 7 and 8 at the middle high school, but also grade 6 at Oak Ridge.
That's a good idea, thank you.
Bob?
Can I follow up on that?
Yes,
Point.
please do.
And I don't know whether this is another one of these, I'm not sure I'm volunteering any of us or all of us, but earlier we were discussing some sort of smaller task force or working group. We were thinking about one for the capital plan for the schools. And it strikes me as I look at the budget summary sheet, if you were to think of the tuition assessments for school choice, which is the number here up at the top of our summary sheet, and then you were to think of Upper Cape Tech as another school choice where we're spending money to send students, and then within the school budget itself, plus or minus, there's, and I know this is slightly different, more than slightly different, but there's another $2 million or so, $2 million being spent sending special ed students out of district. If you pull all those numbers together sort of quickly, that's roughly $11 million. It represents nearly 10% of this entire budget. And maybe there should be some energy, and I don't know what we could do with it, but maybe thinking about a small task force to talk about the issue of spending nearly 10% of a town's budget to send town students out of district. Maybe we should be talking about that and trying to address that more holistically.
I've noted that, so thank you. Anything else before we move through the warrant for Dr. Morashek? All right, thank you very much for coming in and taking time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. And we'll get with you on the assessment. All right, so Bud and Bill, are there any updates relative to anything in the warrant different than maybe we covered last week
I would just add,
as we
when
stepped through it?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No.
I did put in front of your chairs. That one's there's literally like one number that changed by $450. So there's a little change in the one that I left in front of you, and that's just the one-page summary of the financial articles. So I don't know if you want me to go through each of those, or. And I did include the draft of the warrant as it exists today. And again, this is just coming from my computer as I work on that. Longtime members will know, like, I usually put recommended by the Select Board and Finance Committee underneath. And if you guys vote something different, you know, it will be updated, so.
Are there any general questions relative to the warrant that you want to cover before we step in there, or we'll take them one by one? Should we take a motion on each? We should take a motion on each one, second it, and any discussion, and then take our vote. So we'll step through these. Ready?
Want me to go?
You want to
Sure.
lead the way, or?
I'm just going to use the one-page summary just as a guide. So Article 2, as the committee knows, is more than 90% of our overall budget. So the grand total is $102,547 and $102,547,537. If you look in the draft, if you ask where'd you come up with that number, if you look in the draft warrant under Article 2, there's a 2 pages that equals that amount.
Any questions on that? Do we have a motion to recommend the budget?
A motion?
Motion by Crystal. Second by Nancy. Any discussion? Jim?
Yeah, the discussion I'm hearing from folks is about the road situation. And I just was curious if anybody else on the committee has heard from that as well. The idea that, last year they came, and as I said, they asked certain monies to pave 28 roads. Now, for various reasons, 14 of those roads were pushed off to other years. However, we didn't really hear an accounting of where that money was spent. The other monies, which just a bit over $900,000. So I know that's what I'm hearing from the folks concerned about, whether or not the road situation is being handled properly.
Anybody else? Discussion, comments? Bob?
Just sticking with my theme of things we should be focused on as we think about the current year budget, which, is balanced, and I think we've gotten a decent summary of the spending activity. In addition to that OPEB issue, which we have talked about, and the school capital request, and I just mentioned that we've got nearly 10% of this budget dedicated to sending sandwich students out of district. That's a concern. The group health, group retirement line items are nearly 20% of this budget. In the materials that Bud and his team presented to us, it was identified as an area of concern. I think we should be thinking about that. So I think this budget is a solid budget and represents really good work. But as I often do, I keep raising the question of what else. And I think there's an awful lot of what else. And I think one of the things this committee should be doing is helping to focus us not only in the present, but with planning and thinking about issues that are going to impact taxpayers sooner rather than later. So I just repeat that caution.
Yeah, and I've made a note for my follow-up to establish a small working group around the what's next, how we might look at that, and more importantly, communicate it and get something in front of not only our finance committee members, but in front of town taxpayers, but also to start to look at that in reference to another issue the committee's raised around how do we stack up against other non-Cape towns and what that group of towns should look like. So I'll be looking for volunteers for a few of us to come together with Bill and Bud on that as well. So go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, on that, I think we should, if we're going to do that and look ahead, then we should do sort of the puts and takes. So there'll be a lot of, there could be debt incurred from DPW building, all those kinds of things, and the cost that Bob's just outlined. But there are a few things like the, shared services for dispatch and all these other things, and debt that we have incurred that's coming off the books. Those things, play against it. So I just that we not look, again, not myopically at just costs either, but the full range of future.
Absolutely. Any other comments, discussion relative to moving ahead with recommendation on the town budget? Seeing none there, all in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? One no. Any abstentions? Very good, thank you. 7 recommend, 1 not. Move on to enterprise fund.
Sorry. These are the same 4 budget summaries that were in the budget binder. We did net off the transfers that come to town departments. So those numbers reflect what's in your budget binder.
Nancy.
On the cable, is there a concern with that number being actual or going down due to competition?
Yeah, it's funny, like, I know lately you've seen vehicles out there for Verizon, but they're not offering cable television. They're just offering internet services right now. If they did, we would have to negotiate, a public access agreement with them as well. I don't think fees have dropped substantially. The budget that we did last year was a little bit higher, but not much.
Any other discussion at this point? Motion to recommend on the enterprise fund. Jackie? Second? Kevin? Thank you. Any discussion? Not? All in favor of moving forward with the enterprise fund? Unanimous? Thank you. And Bud, we're going to move next to Article 4, which is the revolving fund.
Yeah, so if you look again in the draft warrant, you'll see the list of roughly the dozen revolving funds we had. The only one that we've increased is for the recreation department because they run so many programs up there. Money flows through, especially the summer programs that they run. So that's just to reflect the income that comes in. So again, it's allows us to spend up to that amount. We usually try to pick a little bit higher than we'll bring in just to be safe.
Very good. Motion to move forward with a recommendation on the revolving fund.
Motion?
Motion by Crystal, second by Nancy. Any discussion on revolving fund? All in favor of moving forward with the revolving fund budget? Unanimous? Thank you. Next is capital budget, Article 5.
Yeah, so the capital budget, that's the total amount that you see listed on the one-page sheet, the $2,315,000. The net amount is the same amount that we talked about, and that is $1,473,000. But I think technically should support the full amount, and then the motion at town meeting will net off the transfers.
Very good. Capital Improvement Committee has already approved this as well. And Kevin, thank you again for your service on that committee, representing us. Motion to accept to move forward with a recommendation on Article 5 capital budget. Motion by Jackie. Second by Kevin. Any discussion on capital? Jeff?
Just, respect to capital, I think this is a process that could be could benefit from a look at as to how it's done, what kind of backup is provided, how the analyses are done. I can only speak to what I was given, and I'm hoping there is more behind that we don't get. I know we've had a member on it, and I'm sure they got to see more and have more discussions. But I think there are some in addition to a one pager, which is a standard format, I think there should be some other quote unquote standard format charts that come along with it. If it's vehicles or it's this, if it's that would help give us better insight into the reason behind the need, was it thoroughly flushed out, and give us a greater confidence on it. I know that, with respect to what I saw and some of the discussions that occurred here, I am concerned. Not in the number itself, but in some of the details. Are we selecting the right, as I call it, solution for the mission? Understanding what's needed and why it's needed. I'm hoping we have, but I'm not convinced of it based on some of the discussions that went on and some of the materials I was given. So I think this is another area, and I don't know how much the Finance Committee has done this in the past. I can't think of the right word I'm thinking right now, but I know I'm encouraged as a new member to think that, hey, between these cycles, we don't just go away for 9 months. Hopefully we'll continue to have some dialogue around how we can improve the process. So that next year when we get together, there's always room for improvement, as they say. There's a fantastic set of documents we got. Fantastic set of individuals that I've had to interface with. But there's always room for improvement. And the way you get there is you gotta study it. You gotta make some recommendations, and you come to an agreement, and you move forward. So this is one area that I encourage us to do that with. Maybe a small group, maybe not. I don't know how you do it. But I do think we need to look at this further. Thank you.
Nancy?
Having been on the Capital Improvement Planning Committee, I understand what Kevin and that group has done, and that is the small group that looks at these, and they've asked a lot of questions beyond what we asked here. We asked, I'm sure, a lot of the same ones that came up in committee. They didn't okay everything the first time. They made groups come back with more detail, but I understand that if you're not there for that meeting, then there is a need to know maybe more about what went on. But I feel comfortable knowing that they've gone through a lot more detail than we did in their process.
Bob?
I have to say that if I were imagining that the town of Sandwich had only $2.3 million to spend on capital projects across all departments and across all prioritized needs, personally, I find it hard to believe that the list that we've seen for approved capital projects is actually a prioritized list of needs and spends. And I say that in part having received a 155-page report identifying the condition of some of our most significant public buildings. It's just, personally, I just find it an odd list of capital spends.
And I continue to have my own concerns relative to the capital in the way that maintenance is rolled into it in pieces. I think it goes to some of Bob's point relative to, is it, are we spending the right amount of money on capital or on it, more importantly on maintenance to continue to maintain? I think if we were seeing that, then the capital number might be more in line. It's just, I think we continue to have a challenge of maintenance and capital and how we continue to address things in town here. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say comments like those and the ones Bob made and others have made, to me, reinforces the comment that I made that says we should go look at the process. Because it's the process that's giving us, if it's the wrong answer, the wrong answer. It's not individuals. I know individuals are trying hard and they're really studying it and looking and they're asking questions. But I think the process is failing us and not identifying, all of the needs and setting them up in a priority and understanding what is, getting left behind and what the risk of that is and so forth. So again, I think I would argue the series of comments just made reinforces why we need to go look at the process and let the process give it more, I'll call it rigidity, so that things don't slip through the crack or get forgotten. Thanks.
And as we're having this discussion, it occurs to me again that there's a bit of long-range planning that needs to be factored into this, as well as near-term planning, not just for next year, but for the next couple years out and how we might look at that. So I think there's a whole kind of need around this. Any other discussion on Article 5 for capital? Seeing none. All in favor of recommending the capital budget? 5 yes, 6 yes. Any noes? 2 noes. 6 and 2, thank you very much. Article 6,
Yeah, I stressed,
snow and ice.
you know, we're carrying that number of 300,000. We're not that far in deficit. I'm not, sorry to put Bill on the spot, but my guess is we're probably about 250 more or less.
We're right around that neighborhood. Yeah, we're still waiting on 1 or 2 invoices, but yes, that is correct.
Yeah. And then when I woke up very early this morning and flipped on the back light, I saw an inch of snow on the back deck. But yes, so we can't give you a hard number yet. We'll have a final number in the motion once we get to town meeting. And we just think it's a good practice not to carry over a deficit, even though technically we could. We'd rather just get rid of it before we close our books. Yeah.
Motion to accept the snow and ice deficit appropriation.
Motion?
Crystal. Second by Jackie. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor of recommending the number that we will see shortly, around, I guess, $250,000 or so. All in favor, unanimous. Thank you. Very good. Article 7 is,
Sorry, this was off. I'm going to repeat that. This one doesn't have a number tied to it because the state doesn't finalize their budget till well after we vote at town meeting, but they do want us to vote this every year just to formally accept Chapter 90 funds.
and this has to do with state aid to highways.
Yeah,
programs.
public highways, yep, public roads.
Motion to recommend. Kevin, thank you. Second. Nancy? Any discussion on this one? All in favor of moving forward with the Chapter 90 State Highway Program? Unanimous, thank you. Article 8 is the School Department Cellular Lease Transfer and Appropriation.
Yeah, so the next three articles are all related to prior votes at town meeting, what we do with certain receipts. So the first one is for the cell tower lease at the Sandwich Middle High School. The funds can only be spent on maintenance of outdoor fields and facilities. And the amount that's in that account right now is $38,802.
Very good. Motion to recommend the appropriation here. Bob? Motions, second by Jackie. Any discussion? Seeing none.
Just one question.
Go ahead, sorry, Jeff.
Do we know the status of, we've heard a couple of times that this may be changing to some other format or type. Has a decision been made there?
Not yet. I believe the current lease has roughly a year and a half to go on it. So technically, if nothing changes, there'd probably be a similar vote next year. And then at the bottom of the warrant on Article 16, we're waiting to hear from Town Council about wording if the school wants to proceed with an easement as opposed to a lease. That would all have to be publicly bid, and the school would then consider the bids that they get and what to go ahead with.
Thank you for that.
All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Article 9 is the beach renourishment account appropriation.
Yeah, so this one requires us to set aside 20% of all of our beach parking receipts and beach sticker receipts. So the grand total on that of the 20% for the past calendar year is $106,670.
Motion to recommend the beach renourishment account.
Motion.
Crystal, second by Nancy. Any discussion on that one? Jeff?
So a question, maybe a comment. So I don't have a little background on this. So when we talk about beach renourishment, are there parameters on that as to what is considered renourishment and what is not?
Yeah, in the vote that was passed at town meeting. It's a little bit more flexible than renourishment, but it's focused on that. It's also, even though money comes in from all of our beaches, it only focuses it on saltwater beaches. This was a petition article that was submitted, not with the support of the select board that passed a while ago. Most of the time, we use it for things like, you may recall, I think 3 of the last 5 years, Bourne had some sand they were just going to get rid of from a couple of dredging projects, so we paid to have that transported over and put down. Very, very small quantities in the scheme of things, but every bit helps. It's also paid for beach grass plantings, things like that, or if we needed to get follow up on any of the permits that we have on the beaches and we need to do some scientific study, it's paid for those as well.
And this is the comment piece. The reason I was asking it is, and this isn't a great, what's the word I'm thinking of? I can't think of what I'm thinking right now, but this is, if you go to social media, there's things that always are out there. And erosion of our beaches, after every storm, it's like, why do we keep throwing money after money and just watching the sand go out? So the reason I was asking a question about these funds around renourishment is, are there things we can do besides sand that would do other, categorizing what we're doing here, and are there other things we can do to improve the beaches? Because, fighting the sand one probably should be a separate entity by itself. We're talking big funds, long-term, anything we can do. But the idea of the grass, and you mentioned a few other things. So when you're making the decisions to spend the money, are you able to focus and avoid things that maybe should best handled elsewhere and focus this on those little things that might have a longer lasting?
Yeah, we've used the money to replace like the stairs, like, the walkover stairs and the walkover ramps, totally destroyed. And that, it's just, so if we need to, we could use funding to put that back. What's difficult about the dunes is there's so many restrictions on the dunes. It's not like you can take a backhoe or something and level things out and reshape things. We do try to reshape the walking paths a little bit. We try to let nature do its course until just before we start staffing the beaches, but I'm trying to think of a good way to say it, but it's a very difficult thing to stay on top of, and I don't think it's ever going to go away, no matter how much money we put towards it. In the end, Mother Nature will win. And I think we're all sobered because you see what happened with Superstorm Sandy in New Jersey and parts of Long Island and Staten Island. I mean, if that hits Cape Cod, there's nothing that we can build or do that's going to prevent.
Yeah, and that's why I was trying to separate my comments to say that like this kind of money isn't going to address things like Superstorm Sandy, but this amount of kind of money could do things. So it came to mind what I was trying to express was that, say for instance, putting up snow fencing further back, but snow fencing does something to build dunes up, as opposed to if I just dump sand on it, the wind's going to blow it away, the weather's going to take it. So I was wondering if money like this, when it's could be more steered towards those kinds of activities versus the sand one.
Yeah, I
Let the sand one be part of a bigger project that's looking at, how do we long-term maybe handle it? And that's my question, comment kind of thing. Thank you.
Very good. Jackie?
Just a point of order. So we reviewed all of these, and Bud presented, and we've had the opportunity to review these. And tonight is more just to vote them, or are we going back to discuss?
We have, as part of the process of going through getting to the vote, there's a portion for discussion. So
Discussion of each
to
one.
your point, yes, we've had our opportunity to cover these in depth up till tonight. So it's really just to recap anything significant.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So we are on Article 9. It is the beach renourishment account. There's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? Ayes. All all around, unanimous on that one. Thank you. Bud, Article 10 is the Sandwich Promotions Fund appropriations.
Yeah, so this comes from a certain percentage of our rooms tax funds. And then, again, by a special act that was adopted at town meeting and eventually passed by the legislature, there's a formula we follow. And if you follow the formula for the upcoming fiscal year, the Visitors Services Board and Sandwich Chamber get just over 61,000, and the Canal Region Chamber just over 30,000.
Okay, thank you. Motion to recommend the Sandwich Promotions Fund appropriations. Bob? Second. Nancy? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any noes? One no. Thank you. And no any abstentions? Seeing none, we'll move on to Article 11, which is the WIF balance appropriation for wastewater purposes.
Yeah, so this is, it's become an annual appropriation, so whatever the balance is in our WIF account, we appropriate it so we can keep those projects moving that Dave Mason highlighted quite a few of them that we have irons in the fire. I would say the best news we got this past week is the equipment we were waiting on that's proprietary for the middle high school upgrade has arrived. Hasn't been delivered on site yet, so we can't pay the bill, but it's arrived and it's coming. So that's good because we've been waiting on that for many months.
Okay, thank you. Motion to recommend the WIF balance appropriation. Jackie, second by Crystal. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of recommending the WIF balance appropriation? Unanimous? Thank you. Next one is the CPA fund expenditure for administrative costs and others.
Yeah, so this includes the administrative fees, which I think I shared last time we talked about it. If there's any balance, it goes back into the fund. The 10% allocations that the law requires us to do for the three purposes, and then what's left of our debt payments. And I think Bill highlighted at that other meeting that I think we only have like 4 years to go on any of our debt, and then we won't have any larger projects that we're still paying for, which is great.
Very good. Motion to recommend the CPA fund expenditures. Jackie, second by Nancy. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion on this one, all in favor of moving forward with a recommendation to accept the CPA fund expenditures? Unanimous, thank you. Article 13 is also CPA project. This one is the recreation facilities project that we heard about.
Yes, so I know Leanne was in, I think that was just our last meeting, and I'll just go back and say, like, I think I said it when we talked about the FY25 and beyond work. Like, in my opinion, the two best things we ever did was Leanne's position and Guy Boucher's position. Like, what those two people accomplished and provide better oversight. And, you know, that wasn't new positions. It was more like we absorbed some things, gave extra money for oversight, and we shifted some things around huge. And I think she showed that last week. That's my soapbox. So this is just the rec improvements, mostly at Oak Crest Cove on the court improvements, and then some beach work at Oak Crest Cove plus Snake Pond.
Very good. Motion to recommend the CPA project for the recreation facilities. Crystal, second. Jackie, any discussion? Bud, would this be an example, though, of capital that would have been spent? I think I recall maybe last year making a comment on this particular projects at Oak Crest that were showing up in the long-term capital plan.
Because I know we said that this was several years ago. There was a goal that if we could use CPA funds to hold down coming up with capital money for other things, and there weren't big demands on those funds, it would make sense to spend some money on that. So I think these next two projects, between this one and the school, are great examples of we're not having to come up with it from another source.
Very good. Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of recommending the CPA project recreation facilities improvement? Unanimous, thank you. Next is Article 14, CPA project on school facilities improvements.
So it's for their multi-purpose courts at the high school.
Very good. Motion to recommend the school facilities improvements through CPA. Jim. Second, Nancy. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Article 15 is the CPA project for the Camp Linden recreational improvements.
So as Leanne explained, this is for, I thought it was roughly a $125,000 project where 50 would come from the town and the rest was coming from Camp Linden to replace a ropes course that they have there.
Very good. Motion to recommend the CPA project for Camp Linden. Crystal. Second. Jim. Thank you. Discussion? Nancy.
I know it's not a big number, but I'm still bothered by the fact that we're the only town that they asked for money from. And they said they had, in-kind money, but I don't like that they didn't ask any of the other towns for money. That was the way it was presented to us.
Very good. Any other discussion? Jeff?
I'll just share that, as we talked about it when Leanne was here, and I agree with that comment. They didn't go to ask other towns. I spent a little bit of time on this committee, and we as a town, and it's hopefully it will change, because I know they're changing the processes, but I wish they'd decide on projects. But we as a town are viewed by a lot of outside organizations outside of Sandwich as easy to get CPA money from. And, I think I like the idea of supporting it. I don't like the idea, though, that we were asked to contribute at all. They did not even take the time to go out and ask other communities for funds. It's not the first time that's happened, that groups have come in, and typically, though, the CPA group would discount what they asked for. We'd give them some, but not all of it. In this case, they didn't. And I think it's the wrong message to send, and I think groups should come in better prepared, and this group, I think, could have been better prepared. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing no other discussion, all in favor of recommending the CPA project for Camp Linden recreational improvements? 2 ayes, 3 ayes, noes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there's 8 tonight. Normally we have 9. We're down 1 tonight. Very good. Thank you. Article 16, Bud, is...
I would just say on 16 and 17, there's no money being appropriated, but I would contend, especially 17, I mean, there's money involved down the road. On the easement, I mean, they don't have the wording on that, but the concept is to try to do a longer-term agreement with a telecommunication provider and, either bring in more money over time or bring in a bigger amount lump sum early on. And I think that, the school committee would be the awarding authority, so they would make that determination, once a procurement process was followed.
Go ahead, Jackie.
What are we voting on tonight? If we
Yeah.
don't have...
I mean, I don't personally, I don't know if you have to vote on this one because it's not really appropriating money and it's sort of speculative.
Yeah, it's hard to vote
Yeah.
on something and
Yeah.
like a blank check kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this one,
So
if
I
it's
can
something
just
we would
leave that
take
one
out,
blank.
We would not
All right.
say that we're
Yeah, we'll say like
recommending.
recommended by the select board and that's it. And by the way, everything, if you look at the warrant, says Board of Selectmen because the charter hasn't gone through the legislature yet. So legally, the formal name is still Board of Selectmen. So it's not because we like that title, we don't, but that's what we're required to do. Like those 15 pages of the warrant that I did copies of, those are like, town council always says they're legal documents. All the extra stuff in the back is not. So that, we have a little more flexibility with that.
Obviously, if you
Yeah.
find that this
Yeah.
needs our involvement
Yep.
prior to town
Yeah, we
meeting,
could,
based on it
Yep.
coming back from the lawyers, let us know and we'll work to get together on it.
and the JERA one,
Article
same,
17.
same thing. We're not appropriating money, but it does spell out like a payment in lieu of tax plan. I think as I explained last week, the proposal is, because the way the laws are written, it would actually be, the amount they would pay would be level funded for the upcoming fiscal year, meaning 27, and then an 8% decrease in 28 and 29. The prior 7-year agreement was an 8% decrease each of the 7 years. We're really hamstrung by state law and the antiquated nature of that equipment. We do have a special energy council that helps us with all this.
So a motion to recommend the payment in lieu of tax agreement for JERA. Bob will motion, second. Nancy, any discussion? Seeing no discussion on that one, all in favor of recommending the payment in lieu of tax agreement for JERA? Kevin, are you a yay? Okay, so 7 yes. Any no's? And Jeff abstains. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. All right. And I think that wraps up what we need to recommend. Nothing else, Bud, correct?
No, that's it.
Very good. Thank you all for helping us get through that tonight. Old business, anyone have any old business? Any, oh, go ahead, Jeff, sorry.
I think this falls on the old business. I had a question around, the joint DPW and fire station. I don't know, but if you, I had 2 questions. Let me ask them both and then you can. So one question is, just can you give us an update? Where are we? What do you see the schedule for moving further with information? And the second question, which related to the first one, was, at the time, the last time we got together and specifically talked about that, we asked the town to go back out one more time and look at alternate sites. And a comment was made that said, we should be able to, we, the town, should be able to do that quickly because we don't have that much alternate lands that the town owns. So I'm wondering why we haven't had that answer come back, and I'm thinking maybe it's because you're waiting to give us all the answers. I know personally, if the town's ready to say, we went out and did another study, and this is what we have concluded with respect to an alternate location for just a DPW or just a fire station, whatever. I know I'd like to see that answer, even if it comes before the other part of the question, which is, reprogramming and can we get the total price down and so forth. So to me, I'd prefer to, if it's ready, I'd prefer to hear about the land and not wait on both of them.
The group, which includes Crystal and Matt on it, boy, I can't tell you how many times we've met, but a lot over the last roughly 6 months since the last update. So we actually have a meeting. We've been looking at a draft presentation to give to the select board. So we have a meeting next Monday to hopefully finalize it and present to the select board. The consultants are coming to present to the select board next Thursday night. It's one of the primary things on their agenda on the 2nd. I'm not going to steal thunder, but in round numbers, because I don't think this is doing anything crazy, we were able to cut roughly about 12% of space and cost estimates. It's fair to say, though, that the more work you do, the longer time it takes, then you get some escalation factor rolled in. And so that was, I'll be honest, that was a little bit depressing to see, like, we felt we made some really significant changes, and once you factored in the escalation, it wiped some of it out. And then there was a lot of work done on an alternate site in the sense of looking at layouts, some of the questions that the Select Board and Finance Committee had about site work. And so, like, we did take a hard look at the other site that made sense. And I don't want to steal this thunder, but let's just say, like, what will be recommended next week is different than what we recommended in terms of a location of a DPW.
So when you say next week, there's the Board of Selectmen meeting this Thursday.
Next
the week after
Thursday,
that?
the 2nd. Yep.
Thank you.
And as soon as like, I have a final presentation packet, if it's ready for when the agenda packet goes out next Tuesday, I think you guys get copies of all those, so that will be in it. Yes, yep.
Thank you.
And we wanted to make sure that everybody knew about it and was welcome to join so you could hear the presentation, because obviously it will be coming to us at some point after the select board, further down the road.
I will say, like, just two of the quick things, because I think you guys would be interested in it. Like, since the first presentation, the Fed Reserve dropped the interest rates by a grand total of 0.75%. So we ran those new numbers. That makes a pretty big difference when you're looking at that amount of money over 30 years. And then I think we've talked a couple times that, depending on what the select board decides, it might make sense. Normally we don't go for a bond rating except when we have a debt approved to be issued. It doesn't mean you can't go out and have a bond rating review. It might be worth doing, only because I know, like, we've all talked quite a bit that there's really three big things coming up over the next decade between the project we just talked about, the school facility needs, and longer-term wastewater stuff. So I know it'd be interesting, because I think if hypothetically we went from a AA+, which is really good, to a AAA-, which is even better, there would be we'd have better, harder numbers to share on what the cost estimates would be. And I think, I'm just going to be blunt, I think all of you guys, the select boards, town meeting, we've worked really hard to try to put us in the right spot financially. And I know we keep putting a little bit in stabilization, a little bit in OPEB, and I know we need to do more with OPEB over time, and we have some thoughts on that. But, it's sort of a testament that we think it's worth a shot, because we think we might have a shot to go to AAA. And I literally saw this spreadsheet yesterday of a down Cape town that is going for an override. So they sent a linked spreadsheet, and each of the 15 towns was asked to fill in, are you going for an override for 27? Yes or no? And if so, how much? Of the 12 towns that responded, 6 or 7 are going for an override. So it's pretty interesting what's happening elsewhere, and we're still, like, doing okay.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Did the project management fees change at all as a percentage
No,
of the
that's-
project? Is that
It's all the same, and and we still have to
that's just
fact.
exorbitant?
Yeah, I'm just looking at Kevin's face. No, sorry, no. Engineering firms and project managers, they get a certain percentage of the total project, and it's pretty steep. Yeah, and that's standard throughout the industries.
Very good. Any other old business? How about any new business? Jim? Nope? Okay. Thought you were going for your microphone there. All right. Any further comments from the public that are with us this evening? Seeing none, we will wrap up. Thank you again to Superintendent Forget, Dr. Marishek, for being with us tonight. A big thank you to the town team, Bud, Bill, Heather, who was here earlier, and all the department heads that have worked with us to present, discuss, and respond to our inquiries as we made our way through the fiscal 27 budget review. There aren't any further Finance Committee's meetings scheduled. We'll look to have Dr. Marishek and Mike come in on the assessment, hopefully sometime in April. But we will also see everybody at town meeting on May 4th. And should there be any significant changes in what we recommended tonight, we would obviously need to come back together again on that. Thanks to each and every one of our Finance Committee members for your willingness to step up and represent your neighbors. Your insights that arise through your questions and your comments, along with your dedication to the work of the Finance Committee, is what makes town government here in Sandwich work well. Thank you all very much. Does anyone else have any closing remarks?
And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, thank you,
Yes.
Crystal. Appreciate it. With that, can I have a motion to,
Yeah.
go ahead, Jim.
I guess the only thing I would say is that, I guess I would have liked a little more discussion on the budget itself when it came time to the vote. I mean, it's the biggest item we have, however much money it was. We spent hours upon hours, Tuesday after Tuesday, talking to these folks. And, I think we owe it to our constituents ourselves to maybe have some discussion ourselves more on the budget. Just an observation.
Thank you. Any other closing remarks? Seeing none. May I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Bob. Second by Crystal. All in favor? Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, everyone.